Good morning, evening, or whatever time of day it is. Welcome back to Roundtable Media's Echo Podcast, Season 1, Episode 3. I'm Brett, your hostess with the mostest. Welcome back to the show. And once again, as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Alex. And much like your favorite pizza, she's not delivery, she's DiGiorno. Say hi.
Hey.
And our very special guest, very good friend of mine, very talented musician. Really glad he came all the way up here for the show today. We have Tyler, also known as Jim, also known as Tyler.
Good one. Hi.
Thanks for coming on, Tyler. So, episode 3. What are we talking about? Well,
You got the laptop game master.
yeah, and there ain't nothing on it.
Why'd you have to? I had to drive you all the way back to your apartment so you could get it.
It just makes me feel professional.
You know why? Because it's Windows.
Very funny. But this podcast is being recorded on TUTV Media Labs Mac, so don't have to worry about that.
You have to be in the presence of one.
Yeah.
They're better for content creation, I'm not going to lie. But literally for
We've had this discussion.
everything else, I prefer a Windows. But if I'm going to make something, please give me a Mac. Because Windows doesn't know how to do, like, audio or image, just anything. You want to type up a paper? Got you. You want to do literally anything else? It's a struggle.
I even think Macs are better for typing up, except
I hate Apple keyboards. I hate any and all Apple keyboards.
well, like the wireless keyboards, the little white ones.
Even her MacBook Pro keyboard, I cannot
Well,
stand.
it's new, so like the keys are they don't push down all that much when you type.
They're very cushiony. I don't like the wireless ones.
I mean, I don't have a very thick keyboard on my Lenovo, but it at least has some, like, click to it.
Yeah, the new ones don't have any click. Like that has click, but
Eh.
more click than my laptop does.
But I mean, I'm the kind of person that would love a mechanical keyboard, so I probably just have my own bias going into it.
My MacBook has like these amazing like snap triggers. It's like super
Mhm.
shallow like travel time, but it's really clicky. That's what I like, but a lot of people don't like that.
So speaking of your MacBook and the work you do on it, you are a music producer
Yep.
down at UCO ACM. So I think a good thing to talk about today, because we've already talked about like RPG games and what's like alluring and pulling in about a story, and then what makes that good story. And another thing that's part of a great media experience or a game experience is definitely the soundtrack. And with such, an expert in the room, and Alex, who just like slaved over 20 chapters of K-pop,
It was 3.
uh,
It wasn't 20 chapters.
it probably felt like 20.
No, it was
Thing is
really interesting
K-pop.
actually.
Anyway, music is something that's going on right now, and I think that's an integral part of a good movie or a good game or even a good TV show. So let's talk about soundtracks. So Tyler, let's just open things up. Your favorite game soundtrack and why?
Game soundtrack.
Favorite game soundtrack
That's
and why?
a lot of games.
First one that pops into your head. I mean, I have my guesses.
That's a good question. Final Fantasy 15. That's pretty recent, but that had a really good soundtrack. I'm trying to think of like a lot of people talk about Red Dead 2 soundtrack, but I don't give it that high a praise because it's not a soundtrack. It's like a minimalistic
It's there.
it accompanies your action. It doesn't
Mhm.
accompany the story really.
Mm.
I think the game puts more emphasis on the lack of music
Mhm.
rather than actual soundtrack. But if we're talking about like soundtrack based on recognizability, it's definitely going to be I don't know. Haven't played a lot of mainstream games lately, and not a lot of them have good soundtrack. Actually, Black Ops 1 had a pretty good soundtrack
It did.
way long ago. But I think that's probably just the nostalgia talking.
I was really thinking you were going to bring up The Witcher. I'm surprised you didn't.
The Witcher has a great soundtrack, but I don't know. I liked it because in the game, no matter where you go, there's always different like music accompanying it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you know where you are based on the music almost. Even though you probably already know where you are in the
Right.
game. The music is like audio cue, and I think that's what makes game music so much different.
So, okay, so what about Final Fantasy 15 was the first one you brought up. What about its soundtrack did you like so much? Because I know you're a fan of the series.
Mm-hmm.
But like what like the soundtrack specifically, what was like what helped what pulled you in about it?
Final Fantasy is like the anime for video games. So it's kind of like how dramatical and how, drawn out everything is for so much effect. So it's like the music has to fill in gaps. and usually the music doesn't do a good job of that. It's just kind of like, okay, are we getting to the next line of dialogue anytime soon? And it's just kind of like the composition is meandering. But I think Final Fantasy 15 filled in those gaps pretty well.
So a way to fill in space between like actual high points.
Yeah.
I can definitely understand. And I think that's what Red Dead doesn't do. Because you brought up Red Dead as well, but I think part of Red Dead are those low points that you hit, especially like in the early game as you're first figuring out Arthur and this gang, of those moments where you just find quiet. Like nobody around, nothing to do, no music. Because one, the developers are trying to get you to look at this game. Red Dead on any system is gorgeous, some more than others.
Mhm.
Like the Xbox One X, the PS Pro, a high-end PC, the game is even prettier. But even just like your standard Xbox One, your PS4, still a gorgeous game. So they want you to just look at it for one. But I think like when you hit those quiet moments, the scale of the game comes in and really just kind of like hits you. Red Dead's a huge
It feels
game.
huge
It's
because you're listening to the environment, not
Mhm.
like predetermined music, like themes.
Well, it seems like it's a difference between a score and like ambient soundscapes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which would be, yeah, I guess if we're talking about music, would you categorize ambient soundscapes as music?
I would categorize them as part of a soundtrack for sure, but I don't mean to step on the producer's toes.
Okay, I remembered the game I was talking about. Okay, I know you haven't played this, Brett, but this game
Have I heard of it?
absolutely, of course, yeah,
Okay.
you've heard of it. It absolutely has a great soundtrack. Like it's it's a game that a lot of people criticize, but Far Cry 5
Really?
in Big Sky, Montana, has the best soundtrack. Like it stayed with me long after I listened to the soundtrack, just the soundtrack, and I don't do that a whole lot. Far Cry 5, I think the number one. I'm gonna say the number one best thing about Far Cry 5 is its soundtrack.
Wow.
It captures the Montana, like the Montana-esque everything going on in it so well.
So is it a lot of like big actiony sounds, or is it just
No.
like setting appropriate songs, or like what kind of music are we talking
Well,
about?
of course, like in combat, when you're mucking about, there's gonna be some action-oriented music, but it's like just there's a lot of violin, a lot of acoustic guitar, and they just kind of like do this sort of call and response thing throughout the whole game. And it like at first it kind of gets in your head in a loopy way, but it makes you feel like you're just some country boy in the middle of Montana killing cultists.
Which you are. It's very
Which you are.
accurate.
I don't know. The Far Cry 5 soundtrack.
So I think another soundtrack that comes to my mind that helps like put you into like the frame of the character you're playing as. Even though this is an older example when like games and music in games was not as good. So bear with me, but Halo 2, the Halo 2 soundtrack with its just like heavy rock metal-esque sound, like unapologetic electric guitar and heavy drums and just riff after like techno vibe riff really puts you like in the headspace of like, wow, I'm a futuristic alien killer and I'm the coolest guy ever. And it works. Because, like, as a young gamer, mowing down aliens with electric guitar in my ear, the whole experience it sold it for me. Like, this is the greatest game ever. Still love Halo 2 a lot. Not the greatest game ever, by a long shot. Very good game. My favorite Halo, personally. But the soundtrack is definitely what makes that game so nostalgic for me. Because the first time I came, like, into New Mumbani and onto, like, the catwalk platforms, and I saw that gigantic scarab four-legged alien tank, for Alex, who doesn't know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea.
Just imagine a four-legged alien tank that's the size of a building.
Okay.
Good time. And I'm just a 7-foot-tall dude with a gun, you know. Ugh. And just the heaviest electric guitar song you've ever heard just kicks in with a doon beat behind it, and you're just like, wow, this is about to be some kind of awesome, and it was.
It's interesting that you bring up nostalgia with music and video games specifically, because I think one that's resurfaced on the internet, more so as a meme,
Uh-oh.
is the Me Channel theme.
Oh.
Boo-doo-doo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please don't sue us, Nintendo.
The whole like Wii soundtrack, because I got
Yeah.
a Wii when I was in middle school. Like,
Didn't we
Right.
all?
like,
I think
yeah.
mostly, yeah.
And It was actually the first time I played Monster Hunter, and it was like the first online game I'd ever played.
We can talk about that
We
later.
can talk about that later, but the memes, the endless memes, even like the Wii Shop channel, the Me channel, just the Wii like main menu music, like everything has become the meme.
Yeah, people make remixes of it, and like,
Some of them are legitimate fire,
they're
I
real.
don't-
Some are
and it
good.
doesn't make sense.
I don't get why people latched on to the Wii so much. I feel like it's just because people feel like Nintendo made a fool out of themselves with the Wii U.
I
And
mean-
feel like it's just laughable.
So to a sharp left turn really quick, the Nintendo Wii, because this is a pop culture podcast, so the Nintendo Wii was, I think, one of the first true technological strides in console gaming, because not when it first released, the very first edition of the Wii, before Motion Plus and before they revamped the sensor, like, was garbage. It didn't work, in my opinion. At least ours didn't.
But has it gone anywhere though?
Well, I'm getting there, but the Wii Motion Plus, like the better controller, the better games, the better sensor, was incredible.
Mhm.
And at that point, they also released the Pro controller. So for games like Call of Duty got ported to the Wii,
Yep.
and like the Transformers War for Cybertron series got ported. A couple fighting games got ported, and you need it, like Smash, and you need a true controller for those. And so having the option to play on the Pro controller or these games like Mario Party, or there was a Pokemon tournament game,
Mhm.
or Kirby. Any of the Kirby games on the old Wii are amazing, but the motion controls were there. Or Mario Galaxy. I can't believe I didn't bring up
Super
Mario
I was
Galaxy.
about to say, I was waiting for
Like,
Super Mario
so,
Galaxy.
So good, so amazing. But it was like, what the Wii did was pull you into the game. For like 80% of those games, you had to interact on like an extra level.
Yeah.
And so when it went to the Wii U, they didn't take a step forward. They just kind of stepped to the side. Like, instead of ordering a whole new takeout meal, they just added an extra side of fries, if that makes sense.
Well,
Because the gamepad, I mean, it's cool, but did it do anything?
but it was like beta testing for the Switch, and you see how popular the Switch is.
But you know what? The Switch is, my Switch is in my backpack right now. I love my Switch.
Yeah,
Like, it's great. The motion controls are
the
ridiculous.
Switch is the new best-selling console.
And it should be.
in the country. Like
Mhm.
it's the most accessible for all ages. It's like who doesn't want?
Like, I could pull out Pokemon Go right now, prop it up on this table, and give you the Joy-Con and, like, show you how good the throw is on it. It's ridiculous. And it doesn't need to be plugged into its dock to register your throws. It can just be propped up on the console is no bigger than, like, 3 of these smartphones.
It's not even as big as your laptop.
No, but it's
No.
probably twice as powerful as my laptop, which is crazy.
But it is yeah, the Switch has I haven't gotten one myself, but it's like I've been tempted to a lot, but it's like it's a waste of money for me right now, but it's like
Mine was a gift. I'm blessed.
the Wii, I feel like it was a step in the wrong direction. I think
Really.
being retroactive about it, because it's like we've receded back into couch gaming. It's like who wants to be active and use both their hands and like, you know, have all these physical motions associated with gaming. It's like give it a week after you get a Wii, you're going to be trying to do as little movement as possible to get what you want to happen, to happen.
It's true.
So it's like it was too gimmicky.
I think the gimmicks, though, appealed to the younger audience.
Mhm.
Because I had cousins that, like, went nuts on their Wii for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how many times did it just like how long did that last
It depended on the game.
for kids? It didn't last very long.
Like, Wii Sports fencing, you go ham.
It was
Dude.
bowling.
I was about to
lot
say,
of
I was
people I
like
know.
bowling. My grandma actually threw the Wii remote through her TV.
I
That's
feel
why
like
they
that
put the
happens so many
disclaimer to all our listeners. If you still play with a Nintendo Wii or a Nintendo Switch
times.
Joy-Con,
Wrist strap.
use the
Wrist
wrist strap for everyone's safety.
Do it.
And also we were talking about the Wii music,
Mhm.
all that.
Yeah.
Also, something that's also been brought back as a meme that I thought of was the it's the PlayStation 1 boot up sound. The
That just,
giant, like the freaking.
I mean, how can we not bring
explosion.
up the
Oh, the GameCube.
I knew. Yep.
Okay, I was like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Oh,
the
that's
GameCube.
that's nostalgic. Yeah.
That,
So
all
good.
of those have been memed the crap out of.
Yeah.
So okay, I
I'm
think
pretty sure the GameCube one is like a Vine,
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
and then so is the Wii Bowling like song too.
Yes,
my
because it's the vine you're thinking of is the girl that's swinging and falls backwards and then just rolls and rolls and rolls into the bowling
Well,
pins.
no, I'm thinking of the one where they get the. It's a refried meme. It's the
a
baby.
refried meme? You mean a deep fried meme?
Whatever. It's the baby.
We talked about
it's
this
a baby cover. It's the
last episode.
Vine.
Listen to the end of this. There it is.
Yep, there it is.
No, it's the Vine of like the baby covered in peanut butter, and they put it
Ah.
going
Ah.
to like all of it.
I
like,
hate that vine.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
that
just
one.
they
I
just
hate
sampled it.
that
It just
Vine.
started. Okay, that. Oh my goodness.
So, okay, so we've gotten to one of the core aspects of what I think is going on here, and we live in a meme culture.
Yeah.
So it's unavoidable that like sound
Can we go
bites.
deeper into that? Can we go deeper into meme culture?
I'm-
'Cause it's
I'm about
I feel
to.
like
I'm about
meme
to.
is overgeneralization.
So by meme culture, I mean, so a meme is memetic, and a memetic item is an individual like packaged piece of media that's overly relatable because of how commonplace it is. So that's a very academic definition. I'm sorry for anyone whose ears are bleeding.
It defines a generation.
So what I mean by that is like the Wii music, the Me channel music is so like common. Everyone knows it. Even people that never owned a Wii know that meme.
Mhm.
And I think what's part of what our soundscape as a generation is memetic sound. Because if you think like the Me channel music or the Skyrim opening, like got memed to all heck.
Dude, the 90s kids have taken over like everything. The memes are all nostalgia based. It's because like what you said, commonplace. It's like we all like whenever we were 13, 14 years old, everybody had a Wii.
Mm-hmm.
And then we grew up, to be a little smarter and to be a little more intellectual about things. And so we like to joke about it in like really convoluted ways. And that goes for anything. Like talk about like SpongeBob
Yeah.
or Power Rangers or Powerpuff Girls, any of that stuff that we all grew up on. It's like we just love to.
Can I
To
ruin
twist it.
Can I ruin Powerpuff Girls for a second for everyone?
You already did this to me, and I hate you
Just
for
men
it.
creating a manlet creating.
Dude
little
just
girls.
created 3 little girls.
Stop.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I don't need to say it.
You're gonna say it. I know
don't-
what
I
you're
don't-
gonna say.
Professor in his basement just made 3 little girls
I know what I know what you're getting this from. I know what you're gonna say.
at Good Guy Fits.
Yeah.
So moving on,
Hate. That was my favorite show growing up,
and now it's done.
he ruined it.
Well,
I mean,
I brought this up last episode too, but I can also ruin the Lion King because when Nala looked at when
Yeah.
when Simba pinned Nala during Can You Feel the Love Tonight, that look she gave him, ooh,
hey man,
that's a come here, pretty boy.
that's they're cut. Hey man, Disney was cutting angles.
Yeah, they were.
Back in the
Did
day.
you see the angle of
But
her
we
eyes?
didn't get it right.
No.
We
of
didn't
course
get it
not.
then.
Now we can't unsee it.
I
Yeah,
showed it
it's
to
like-
him. He showed it to Brennan.
We're
Brennan
still
was
talking
like-
about it. Brennan was scarred.
Yeah.
Episode 2 featuring Brendan Gray
Yes.
up on Roundtable Media on SoundCloud. Go check it out. Follow.
Anyways,
What were we talking about? Music. We're
Yep.
still talking about
Music.
music.
Still talking about music.
so we talked about like music and video games.
Yeah.
What about
Movie music.
Movie music?
Movie music.
Next meme. Let's do it.
Because I feel
I-
like it's something I can at least contribute to.
Okay, Alex, favorite movie score and why?
This is really basic.
Shucks.
And also, for those of you listening along at home, feel free to leave it in the comments when I asked both questions. Favorite video game score, favorite movie score, let us know.
So I don't know if this is a score or more so a composer, but John Williams.
Well, okay, duh.
Well, John Williams just.
That's a very
follows
respectful duh.
He just
mean-
follows George Lucas around.
With a violin.
Yeah, I mean,
But specifically, I'm thinking like because
Oh, we didn't talk about horror game music, and we'll circle back.
okay, well, because I'm thinking specifically about Harry Potter because that's what I grew up with when I was little, and so it's to the point where like going back to that
Hufflepuff.
idea of nostalgia. You hear the Hedwig's theme and you get chills, and you're like, oh my gosh! And it's one of those things where like I got to go to like Harry Potter World years ago. I was 14 years old, and just hearing the music play around while you're walking around makes the experience even more crazy and surreal. Like if they didn't have that soundtrack playing in the park, then it wouldn't be as immersive as an experience, I think.
So film is immersive in a different way from games. A game is immersive, and I think the most immersive game to come out in the past, like I'd say, so like 5 years, is either The Witcher 3 or Red Dead Redemption 2. You can pick either one, but they're immersive because of how involved you literally are on the controller or mouse and keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Are we back to games somehow?
A little bit, but film is immersive because it's weird. It's a purely visual experience, but it can sometimes be more immersive than a game,
Yeah.
where you're literally involved in the progression of the medium. Whereas a film, you're just a passive viewer.
Well, past film critics have gone on to say to debate whether viewers of film are actually active or passive.
I mean,
It's up for interpretation.
I would
If you
consider
wanna get-
myself active.
I was gonna say,
you can definitely watch a film actively.
People just like people who say like I'm gonna go home and watch Netflix, like they just put a movie on and they don't even watch it.
yeah,
That's passive
That's
watching.
passive.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
And I'd say
they
that's the
oh, I like
standard
that
viewer.
movie, and I'm like, how can you like that movie? Like you didn't even watch it. You like looked up occasionally, and then went back to what you were doing. It's like when I watch a movie, I freaking buckle my seatbelt, I put my headphones on,
Mhm.
I'm watching it, and just that's the only thing I'm doing. And it's like it's a commit. And like movies and TV shows are commitment. I don't even like TV shows anymore. But music and movies, there's this 3-hour-long movie with Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver, and Liam Neeson. It's called Silence. It's 3 hours. It has no music. No music. There's no soundtrack. It is 3 hours of just bone-chilling tension. It is like Lord of the Rings is 3 hours.
Do they speak?
They speak, yeah.
Okay.
Ew.
But it's like there's no music. It's like all about room textures. It's like all about what you don't hear rather than what you do hear.
What an experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was really
Imagine that in
enthralling.
Imagine that like a full-size theater.
It was very raw. Yeah, I watched it in the theater the first time I saw it,
Gosh.
and it was I see why this movie's called Silence. It's about 2 Jesuit priests back in I don't even know what year, back when in Japan that Christianity was punishable by death. They were killing all Christians. And they went over there to rescue their friend that's also a priest, who is Liam Neeson's character. And it's all about their journey into going into Japan and, trying to cultivate this freedom of religion. And then it all goes awry. And it's like they have to be, they have to worship who they worship in silence. And the whole movie just doesn't have any music in it just to accompany that. It's like it's the absence of what you're not hearing.
Dang.
Yeah, no, wow.
When was it made?
It came out 2016.
I was going to say, I thought it was recent.
Yeah, it's pretty recent. It's just in the past few years.
Okay.
So then what about a movie that's all soundtrack? Let's go to the other end.
Mhm.
Like Star Wars or The Avengers is a lot of soundtrack.
Superhero movies soundtracks aren't that memorable to me.
I think the Avengers main theme is memorable, but I can't name any other like superhero themes, no.
Well, I feel like you don't want to oversaturate your movie with music, if that makes sense. And I could be completely wrong.
Isn't that what John Williams does though?
No, but I feel like it's still
Every like collection of scenes is overthreaded by a soundtrack.
But the thing about that is, at least when I watch the movies, is that you pick out the key themes, but you don't pick out those underlying music themes at all. Now,
So we're talking like you pick up the Star Wars main theme,
yes.
the Imperial March,
Yes.
the Rise
It's
of the
like
Rebellion.
They use it. They use the themes like anytime even Darth Vader's mentioned in Star Wars.
They
the
even
play
march,
it.
original
the
trilogy,
march kicks
they
in.
they play his theme.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The theme in the music, and it's like he's not even there. And they play it at dynamic volumes, like at different intensities, and it's just it gets to you. And you don't even realize, most people
Yeah.
don't even realize that's happening.
You don't, but you have to listen to it over and over again to kind of like pick up on it. Like the musical, I know this isn't movies, but the musical that does
Mhm.
that really well is Phantom of the Opera. Every theme, every character has like a 4-measure tune with them.
Yep.
So if they're thinking a certain way, if they're talking about a certain someone,
That theme will play.
it will play. And like it only took me bless you.
Excuse
It only took me listening to the soundtrack over and over and over again to like pick up on that. And now I listen to it and you can really appreciate it because you're like, oh wow, it's so nuanced. And I think that's something that I've noticed in Harry Potter as well. Like I listened to the Goblet of Fire soundtrack, and that's the only soundtrack I've listened to all the way through. But now when I watch the movie, I can't not hear the music.
That.
No, I
No.
can definitely relate to that. So my unequivocally, and you both probably already know this, but my favorite anime right now is My Hero Academia,
Oh, Lord.
and I love its soundtrack. It's so good because the opening themes are great on their own,
Mhm.
but so many of the soundtrack pieces are centered around like these students trying to become heroes.
Yeah.
Like my favorite track is You Say Run. I don't know why it's titled that. It's Japanese to English. And it's All Might's theme. And All Might is this pinnacle of heroism in the story. But when we first meet him, he's the definition of an overpowered character. But we first meet him and he's already like losing that overpoweredness. It's very deep and interesting for a shonen anime where normally Goku shows up and is like, boom, and beats the bad guy because of plot. But his theme is so like violin and guitar and drum and piano heavy. Like all the instruments and styles you think of when you think of like the big hero showing up to save the day. It's what it is.
Mhm.
But contrasting that perfect soundtrack against a very flawed, physically flawed hero is really interesting. And then Deku, All Might's successor, has the same theme, but remixed with synths and digital keys and like in a much uppitier tone to sit like that younger up and coming hero. And it's just, I could go on and on about My Hero's soundtrack.
I'm going to go the completely other direction.
Go for it.
Let's think about popular music in movies. Not
Ugh.
necessarily the soundtrack,
Yeah.
but movie, like songs taken from existing songs taken to fit the context of a movie. The poster boy of that is Apocalypse Now, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Unfortunate Son. Fortunate Son, not Unfortunate.
It's like in every Vietnam War movie.
It's in every Vietnam War movie because of Apocalypse Now.
Mhm.
That movie just like it. That of course the song was about the war before then, but it became the theme song of the Vietnam War for this country just because of that movie.
It's interesting.
And now it's like every time you hear that song, you can just hear the chopper blades whirring.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think of like, sorry not to interrupt you. I
No,
didn't
it's
mean
okay.
to. But
Wow, Alex.
sorry, I got excited. No,
Co-host
so-
privilege.
No. But a lot of movies in the '80s used a lot of, or had a lot of those popular pop music.
Oh, can we talk
Soundtracks.
about the 80s retro wave, please? Because that's one of my, like, the resurgence of the 80s retro wave is one of my favorite music genres ever. Okay,
Well,
hold on. Time out. No,
Hold on, she was saying something.
I'm not done.
well, she's done now.
No, you unmute her.
Thank you, Tyler.
Goodness
No, I was
gracious.
gonna say now.
I do it every
A lot of
cast.
modern movies will like relay the fact that a main character has an old soul or
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
fit for this generation by playing those nostalgic 80s
Yeah.
music. So I think of like I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but it's a thing that like just songs that you hear in 80s movies. Or they like pull on like the whole Breakfast Club like that, when he walks out and goes
Exactly.
like that. So many people do that now, and it's a sign of like I'm not
The
with this
Rocky
generation.
theme.
Yes.
Like
All
all
the
of those,
time.
dude. They used these like extravagant themes to.
Power ballads.
I wouldn't call "Fortunate Son" a power ballad, but
No, I'm
it's
not
like-
calling. I'm calling the Rocky soundtrack a bunch of power ballads. Eye of the
It's-
Tiger.
That's true. But like pop culture music in movies, I think nowadays it's a little too cliche. But how many movie trailers have you seen for like new current movies that use old songs
Oh, off
A lot.
all the time.
Especially like the blockbuster hits,
Mhm.
the summer blockbuster hit.
Oh,
You
yeah.
hear you'll hear an Eagles song, a Led
Mhm.
Zeppelin song.
Even the fact that they did the Bohemian Rhapsody movie about
Exactly.
Queen, and now they're doing one on Elton John. Like,
Yeah, the
Ooh.
fact that they even did that movie, and now Queen is back on Billboard 200.
right, exactly.
Like
I mean,
that's not a coincidence. It's like we feed off of nostalgia. Nostalgia is a very powerful motivator, and it's a very powerful selling point.
Mhm.
okay, so let's just take that question a step further then. Why do we always want to look backwards?
Because
Why are the games and the musics and the consoles and the ex-girlfriends of yesterday all anyone ever talks about?
it's very primitive. It's like home base. Every human needs like they need a reminder of like It's like every human needs to feel control over something. I know this might be a little bit of a low-hanging fruit.
Go for
But
it.
it's like every human needs to feel control over something, and whenever they were kids or younger, or the good old days, or whatever you want to call it, it's like anything from that period of time in your life it has an interaction with your spirit somehow, that it makes you feel like you're at home again. It's strange. You go back and watch old TV shows that you liked, or go back and listen to old music that you like, and suddenly, you're a kid again. It's craziness. And even but that all that stuff is like before our time, like
Exactly.
the 70s, 80s stuff, and yet it's still appealing to us because let's jump back on the video game train. Battlefield 1,
Oh gosh.
that was the beginning in the shooter genre of like
Not
everybody was like, let's stop going super futuristic. Let's go back to like World War I, World War II, like all that
Mhm.
stuff. It's like because everyone's tired of the futuristic stuff. Everybody wants something familiar. Everybody wants something they know.
Mhm.
They don't have to speculate about. Everybody wants something that they've heard before. Just better somehow.
Yeah.
And I think that's just an illusion. But that's a whole nother conversation.
that it is.
I also think, just looking at music specifically, the progression of it, we don't really have anything now in this century. I feel like that is on that same scale, because like I listen to 80s music because it's a bop.
It's so good.
It's like it's something you
Hold
can
on.
hang-
What 80s music? Hold on.
Well, 80s and 70s music, just like
like
No, I mean like
name drop some people.
Name drops of people. Like I'm interested.
okay. Well, I like Queen. How can you not like Queen?
Well, yes.
Obviously. Honestly, I don't know if I have like specific band names. I just pull up like Spotify playlists and radios and play them
Okay.
specifically. So a lot of rock hits, mostly. What I go with.
There's so much
Rock
from that
hits.
time.
Yeah.
80s is like I mean 70s is where like disco and all that took off, like the Bee Gees and
hmm
frickin' we studied so much about that. I had a class called music culture that we just studied about all of the, what makes a pop song and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But what is that song? Oh crap. We actually had to write a paper over why this song from the 70s is objectively the best pop song of all time, and why
Interesting.
every pop song since then is based on that song. I don't know why. I just forgot the title. Hold on. Goodness gracious.
So
You
while
get
Tyler is looking
Yeah.
that up, I'm going to go ahead and take this time to say, if you haven't yet, please, would really appreciate it if you go down and hit that follow button.
Mhm.
This is episode 3 of season 1. We've got 2 more in our pilot season. And based on like what kind of traction we get, what kind of views come in, like if people like it, we may go ahead and do a second season. We may not. That's why it's the pilot season. We're doing a full set just to have some fun. If you hit like, that really helps too. If you like the topics or the people that come on, they can always come back. If you want to know more or have questions or want to come on, you can't live on Mars because I live on Earth. But if you want to come on within reason, at Brett Oliver on Instagram, at Zack Attack on Instagram.
ZAAK_attack.
And Tyler is at Subject227, and you should check out Tyler's Instagram because not only is he a music producing major, he's a great guy. He does photography. You can reach out to him if you want photo sessions or like want to collab on a project. That's at Subject227 on Instagram. Great guy. Seriously, go check him out. Go check out his work. I really like the photo ops that he does. But do you find that song, Tyler?
Yes.
All right.
I don't know how I forgot it. It was like the prompt was, it's like, why or why not do you agree that Dancing Queen by ABBA is the best pop song of all time, and why every pop song since then is based on that song. Like, think about it. It's all about going out on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about having fun. It's all about dancing.
I mean, who doesn't like to have
It's
fun?
all about romance, all at the same time, but it's the simplistic lyrical choices, the simplistic chord structure. I mean, come on, the freaking name of the band, ABBA, ABBA, is a song structure.
It is a song
A section,
structure.
B section, B section, A section. Like literally the name of the band. And it's like every pop song since then is just a spin-off of that. I agreed with that, by the way, in my paper. Because
I could glean.
go back any further. It's like, what defined the pop genre before that song? That was just the 70s, like, and if you think about all of the pop music we have now, it's just evolutions.
Or devolutions, depending on the artist.
Well,
True that.
Oh, you know what?
preference.
I think it's been a good show, so we're going to go ahead and cut for this week. Again, Tyler, thanks so much for coming on, man. It means a lot. You will definitely be an audience favorite. You just have such a great voice for radio.
You
Thank
do,
you.
really. It comes across nicely.
But, as always, my name is Brett. I was your hostess with the mostest. Alex, thanks for being co-host again. I know I always give you a hard time. I mute you in every episode. And before I forget, because I'm at
Right.
least consistent, here's my socks for the day.
They're blue with triangles. No, they're diamonds.
I don't know if I approve.
Nope,
Wow.
but it still happened
All right,
anyway.
All right. What about these?
Nobody said you get a sock bit. I'm trying to wrap this show up
I
here.
mean, they're a little bit fluffier.
Fluffy socks. Can that be episode 4? Actually, you know what? Episode 4, sock culture.
No, we're not doing sock culture.
Sock culture.
Is that pop culture?
Sock and shoe culture.
Not
Shoe,
not
definitely.
2019, maybe 2013.
I love socks.
I also love
Well, Tyler's not going to be on episode 4 then. Sorry, folks. If you wanted to see him again. Maybe season 2 if that ever happens.
Season 2. No, you're doing it by seasons?
Yeah, this is season 1.
You just playing it by ear?
Yeah, basically.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I guess that's it. So
Alright.
hopefully we'll see you in the next 2 weeks. Episode 4, season 1 will come out about sock culture. Maybe not. We'll probably talk
See if
about
that
socks a little
happens.
bit. But we'll see you then. So before we say goodbye, remember, don't read Alex's Twitter.